I'm just uniquely fascinated with whatever people seem to be fascinated
Yes,
by,
yeah.
and making sure
Yeah.
that they feel like someone cares about the fact that they do it.
Yeah. What a morning for this.
Well, this is the perfect New York morning. If you're going to be here for just a short period of time, this is the view I would want to have anybody see. Obviously, being in Manhattan is nice.
Yeah.
I just happen to think looking at Manhattan is better. That's the Brooklynite in me.
Yeah, you can tell the style. As we were talking about before. This is, I never feel cool enough to really walk on these streets.
Honestly, it's just about whatever makes you comfortable and what makes you feel good. And like, that's what I think that's what I've loved about living in New York, and why I always wanted to live here, is that everybody can be themselves here. And I think especially being in the space that we've been in around employee engagement and employee experience and all that, one of the things that I've said is being your best authentic self.
Yes.
And so this city, I think, is such a great laboratory for that.
Yeah.
And it's one of the major factors for why being in this career is just constantly inspiring for me, because I get to walk around New York City and see so many people living different lifestyles, speaking different languages, wearing fly clothes. I'm just like, why would you have to put any of that under a bushel to go to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about your current role.
I'm the global head of employee engagement and communications at an agency called Weber Shandwick. And that is a title, but one of the ways that I just describe it when I talk to people who are not in this space is the daily yes.
Okay.
And so the daily yes is, what are the factors that are happening at work that make you feel like you're excited to go to work that day? Okay. So is it great relationships with colleagues? Is it what you get to learn? Is it, the fact that you're doing work that solves problems for clients? Are you winning awards? Are you best in class? Are you best in industry? All of that is what we can say is true at Weber Shandwick. And it's exciting to do that for a firm that is doing great creative work, doing great advisory work, great work in technology. And for me, it's just about making sure that globally across all of our operations, is there a consistent approach to how we provide the employee experience?
Sure.
And so having great partners in the EMEA region and APAC and LATAM, and being here in North America, all of us have the same goal. And my job is not to make it uniform, but just to make sure that we are allowing each region to be unique and provide great programming, great consistency to the business objectives, putting it all together.
So when you think about communications or a communication strategy, when you want to build one of those from the ground up, what are the core elements or principles, components of that you always want to see in place?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, every organization has business objectives, so you cannot come up with a strategy that is not tied to that.
Okay.
So for us, it is being an industry leader and making sure that people feel like they are part of the agency that is the agency of the future.
Okay.
So not just solving the problems that clients bring to you, but can we use enough of our insights and intelligence and technology to be able to predict where challenges may arise? And that can range from strategic crisis management. It can also range down to just brilliant creative executions. And so all of that as the sort of top frame, then what do we need to make sure that people have access to in order to be able to bring their best selves to that job and make sure that they understand how their job fits with the strategy? And so the communications strategy that we're really running right now is in our global town halls that we do twice a year. And for that, it's always going to have a sort of big picture of like, here's where we are, and then also here's what's in it for you.
Okay, interesting, because we talk about that all the time as well, the what's in it for me.
Yeah.
Because without that, it just becomes quite conceptual.
Yeah,
and theoretical almost.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That at a high corporate level, that's the objective and that's the goal. But how does that impact my daily work and the impact that I can have as an individual?
And if you consider too that, I remember probably about 10 years ago, I can't remember whose book it was, but the concept of the tour of duty when it comes to career, where individuals are deciding which companies to work for and which type of roles they want to be in. So I think in the communications realm, when we're talking about how to address employees, we got to understand that we are, first of all, any comms that we send to them is interrupting them from whatever it is that they were doing prior to getting this email. So make it worthwhile in the moment. And then also understand that people are thinking about, well, I'm going to do my best in this role, but they might be thinking of, other things that they may want to do in their careers.
Yeah.
So while they're here at this place, what are we doing to help them feel like they can do the best work of their careers while they're here, and to help us power what matters to us in the business?
And what is it that lights you up when it comes to that work? Your role. What is it where you go, that's the part I love?
So I would say that, honestly, the personal relationships that I get to have with people who have so many different backgrounds and so many things that are interesting to them. I've been very fortunate to have managers who were willing to invest in me and provide all the different experiences that seemed interesting to me that also solved business problems.
Right.
And so it's fascinating for me to meet people who do so many different types of jobs.
Yeah.
So people who are excelling in developing our AI agents, or people who are excelling in creative, people who are excelling in being the killer executive admin. It's like I'm just uniquely fascinated with whatever people seem to be fascinated by, and making sure that they feel like someone cares about the fact that they do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that ultimately is what motivates me every day, because I just am genuinely interested in people who are just committed to something.
It's interesting that you've got a globally dispersed audience.
Yeah.
And the common ground in the comms, in the messaging.
Yeah.
How are there certain things you look for when it comes to designing that message or delivering that message to make sure that it's globally consistent but locally relevant?
Yeah. I mean, having core values as an agency helps make that a lot more tenable, a lot more attainable.
Yeah.
Because I can't really speak to what the day-to-day experience in Singapore is like.
Yeah.
And I won't necessarily try to force it into any box.
Yeah.
But if we know that we're committed to inclusion as a value, or to creativity as a value, courage as a value, then that, I think, gives us enough of a common ground to start. And we can form the right comms from there about what's mattering locally, but we're still speaking to the same values that we all share.
What have you, by the way? Do you ever come out here and does this ever get old for you?
No, it does not. I've always wanted to live in New York, and whenever I'm at this area, I think about the history of the city. I think about who I was, when I was growing up. I mean, the Statue of Liberty is right there. So you really get to see so much of this city's evolution all in one shot. So you have some of the oldest skyscrapers, some of the newest skyscrapers, and for me, as a person who is very much motivated by change, but also very grounded in history, I get this all in one shot. Anytime I come over here.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's like the classic skyline view. How much do you think you mentioned earlier on about having such a concentration of different people, different experiences on your doorstep? How much do you think the place where you've been for the last 20 years has shaped the way you are, maybe in work and out of work?
Yeah, a great deal. I mean, I think two things. One, as I've grown up, and I've been really fortunate to have, great education and great professional relationships, the thing that's always been important to me is to be the same person in my personal life as I am in my professional life, because I have always been supported to be that way. And so New York is a laboratory where I'm just seeing that on a day-to-day basis. So that's thing one. Thing two is, there's such a rich diversity of the experiences that people have here and what people do. So riding the subway every single day in the way that I do is also its own sociological experiment, where you can just see people off to different types of jobs. People who are working quote unquote blue collar jobs, people who are working, the white collar jobs, people who are, struggling economically. It really helps me have a sense of place. And helps me have great context and I think perspective about what I get to do every day. So even in the times that work gets challenging, it is still a great privilege that I have to be able to have a job first and foremost, and then have a job that also allows me to think about other people's experiences for a living. Yeah,
it's interesting that you're thinking about that from a curiosity perspective. As a person. Yes, it is important for your role because you are also communicating messages to a huge range of people. But we've talked to people about work-life balance, and how, yes, it's important, but I think more and more when authenticity is probably at a greater premium than it's ever been, it's your whole self.
It is.
So of course we want to make sure that we're not all consumed by anything at any one time, perhaps.
Yeah.
But knowing that the authenticity of whoever you are, the focus may shift, but the person stays the same.
Yeah, I mean, and even the concept of work-life balance is something that, is a term I think we all try to mean the same thing when we say it, but I think the last 5 years, from the COVID experience, I think blew the doors off of whatever the box was. Like, well, work has to be like this, life has to be like this. It's like, well, they're kind of smashed into themselves right now.
Definitely.
And again, being conscious of whatever may have happened in people's lives within the past 5 years as they've gone through, a global pandemic. Did they lose people in their lives? Did they have to relocate from where they used to live? Has anything changed in their life? Probably a lot of things have changed in their lives. So to try to just be conscious and respectful of that as we're also trying to, move an organization forward, just feels like a constant, it's like a constant reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a constant challenge. It's a constant, remember, even though the world has gotten to a different place, or we're outside, or we're post-COVID.
Yeah.
Again, being a history major, being grounded in we're not that far from whatever just happened. It's just it stays fresh for me.
What's interesting about our conversation so far is that sense of perspective is something that you seem to hold very tightly.
Yeah, it means a lot to me to do that.
Yeah. Adrian's first paid job.
Right.
What was that?
Well, the first paid job, incidentally, was when I was a kid, because my mother was working in an office job and she paid me an allowance of sorts to alphabetize all of her files.
Okay.
So all the manila folders, just making sure that everything was lined up, in the right way.
Yeah, smart delegation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And she also knew I was really motivated by language and by spelling things correctly. I was a spelling bee champion.
Right, okay.
So that was the true first paid job. And then coming here, my first job was working in television.
Oh, right, okay.
And so that was in 2006, and I was working at the VH1 TV network under the MTV umbrella. And it was at that point I think it was a perfect place to start my career, especially now given what I've been up to, right?
Yes.
Which is, that was a place that I could have gone to work just like this. And in terms of this attire, there were people who were, but also, it was the coolest brand on the planet at that point. And so to feel like I could be, professional and hip at the same time, it's like, well, why would I want to put a suit on for any other job that I have?
And did you intentionally seek out, was that something that you were conscious of at the time? I'm sure the brand was attractive. The industry was exciting. Was that the attraction for you, or was the attraction that this fits me more than putting a suit on every day or whatever that might be?
I think it was a blend of both. I had always been fascinated by the media and communications industry, because I am someone who is fascinated by storytelling, fascinated by brand, and having been most recently in college, right before then, I had been a magazine entrepreneur. And so I was very motivated by figuring out the right blend of creativity and business. And so finding my way into that environment at age 21, 22 felt like the best place to start my career for whatever it is I was going to do next.
Have you ever found the tension between creative endeavor, or creativity and commerciality a challenge? Have you ever had instances where one has had to slightly lean toward the other, or have you ever had to think about, well, we're just going to have to be a little more commercial here because that's where we're at?
It is, I've been fortunate to, I think, living at the intersection. I've not been in a place where I've had the sole creative decisions land on me.
Okay.
But understanding that conflict that can exist, I have often been in that place where, take for instance, I was the head of strategy at a creative agency after I was at VH1 for 3 years, went to grad school, and then went to a branding agency. I had to be the person that was effectively the diplomat or the translator between what the client is looking for and what my designers are trying to execute. So we have people who are trying to make killer web designs, have the most brilliant type execution for the visual identity. And I'm on the other side hearing from the client and saying, I can't read that.
Make the logo bigger.
Right, and I'm just like, okay, cool, I understand what you're trying to say. We're talking about legibility, so that's what you want to hear. And also, like, you want to make sure that that your brand shows up well. So I have to learn how to have that two-way dialogue, to live between two potentially divergent points of view. And so that's how I think about the balance that has to exist between the sort of commercial needs and creative needs, because ultimately we're trying to just solve problems. Ultimately we're just trying to get messages out to audiences at the right place and right time in the right format. And we just have to find the right harmony to do that. That makes people have the maximum amount of satisfaction and the least amount of hating each other. So if somewhere in there, I think we can find a good product.
Yeah, if you can make that happen, it's the goal.
Yeah.
Let's think about maybe a moment in your career where you went down a certain path and it may have been challenging, and at the end of it, it led to maybe something else. And was there ever a time where you thought, oh, I'm not sure about this?
Okay. Yes. So, as I said, starting my career in that intersection of creativity and business and being fascinated equally by both, I thought that my career was going to go in a direction that was going to lead into, general management or running a company, being the head of a media brand.
Yes.
And I was fortunate to find myself working at the New York Times when they were investing quite a bit in brand marketing at an entity called T-Brand Studio. And having come from the creative agency, I was like, okay, this is going to be my platform to really show that I can do this on a big institutional level and figure out how to build something inside of a storied brand. And along the way, what I found was not so much objections or hurdles to that, but I found myself, and this is what I realized when I talk to people who I do career coaching for, it's like, what you're naturally spending time on is actually the thing that you want to be doing. So I got to the organization, I got to the Times, I started to spend a lot of time talking to the peers who were about my age. I was just in my early 30s at that time, about their careers and like, how, what are you working on here? And I kept hearing stories over and over again, like, yeah, I want to do this, but I'm not really sure how to figure out the right way to go explore that path. Or I would talk to people who had been there for 20 years. They were probably 20 years, my senior. They were saying the same thing. And I was like, okay, we just got to figure out what's going on here. And so I just found that I became so much more motivated by this professional development problem or professional development challenge. And the advertising sort of gusto that I had started to really go by the wayside. And rather than having a sort of career existential crisis, I mean, I did have a bit of that, but rather than sort of living in that moment, I decided to bet on myself and took a chance to knock on the door of the head of HR at that time. And I asked her what she had in mind for career development. And she said that mentorship was a big priority for her, and she wanted to make sure that there could be something that could be applicable for everyone at the company. And I said, well, I don't have an HR background. I had been running a career advice column on the side and had been doing career coaching on the side. And I had done some other, entrepreneurial things inside of the Times, from where I was sitting in the studio. And I said, well, listen, I'd love to be a part of making something like that happen for you. She said, well, we're going to open up a role, and why don't we get you in the lineup for candidates for that? And I had to prove myself, to the newsroom, to the business side, and to the HR, of course, that this guy who with no HR background could come in and run a mentorship program. And I got the gig, and I ran that for 3 years, and it became something that they still run right now. So that's
the legacy of you going and taking the ownership of your own career.
Exactly.
And asking the question.
And then just paying attention to where are my natural activities, my interests actually going. Because there's one thing for me to say that I'm passionate about advertising, for me to say that I'm passionate about media, but where am I actually spending my time? It's with people. And it's listening to people, it's talking with people, it's trying to help individuals solve these major career questions that they have. And that pivot in 2017, after I had been in my career for about a decade, really launched me to everything that I've done ever since.
Wow. When you talk to people that might be in early stages of their career now, is that a key thing that you say to them?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're responsible.
Yes.
And do you think it's actually even just early stage? Do you think it's actually everybody?
Yes.
Ultimately, you're responsible for driving where you're going next.
It is, but I think it's also, and it's one thing I say, and you heard me say it, I'm a history major, even still, I've been out of college for 20 years. But I think that it serves people well to be students of their own careers.
Okay.
So asking questions about the fields that they're interested in, reading the trades or reading whatever it is that might be impacting the field of the work that they want to do.
Yep.
I think that also will help them kind of see what am I continuing to read, or can they sustain their interest in that thing long enough? And then from there, I think that's where the career interest actually emerges, because they may be motivated by like, well, I just want to make money. It's like, okay, well, there's a lot of different ways to make money. So what are you actually going to do to stay committed to that profession or stay committed to that role when things get hard? Not if things get hard, but when things get hard. Are you going to be interested enough in solving this problem? Do you have a thesis? Do you have a burning thing in you that keeps you up at night to say, like, I just can't stand the way that this thing happens, and I'm going to solve it like this?
Do you find there's an opportunity with a communications role or strategy that fosters that culture of, I guess, intentionality, or people being intentional with the reflection or the what's next part of it?
Yeah.
Ultimately, probably an openness.
Yes. I think so. I mean, I've been fortunate to have, again, having the HR background that I do, I've also been fortunate to have this partnership in communications roles where it does have a natural tendency to link up with the talent development teams.
Yes, okay.
And so it's easy to say, okay, well, we're trying to push these things out for the business.
Yeah.
But what do you have going on from the learning and development aspect that also plugs into the business objectives? And how can we make sure that people see the opportunity to learn alongside of what we want people to be striving for?
Yeah. On your town halls, you said you run them twice a year?
Our global ones we do twice a year.
Town halls.
Yeah.
Do you set those up in such a way that, I'm sure there's high-level strategic initiatives, update on corporate goals, etc. But is there, and I'm thinking of some of your New York Times experience as well, which I'm sure is positively challenging from a comms perspective. It's very much a two-way street, I would have thought. Is that something you've brought forward with you into your current position, in the way that you think about structuring a town hall environment?
Yeah,
where it is two-way.
For sure. And so I think about two-way in two ways, incidentally. Inside out, outside in.
Okay.
So, and that's something that I picked up uniquely from the folks at Weber Shandwick, which I love, because these are folks who, as I mentioned, they're at the intersection of culture in all these different, in different fields.
Yep.
So it's important inside out to be able to see, like, okay, well, how does the work that we're doing right now transform the communications industry? So we'll make sure that we have some element of programming where we get to talk to an outside partner about whether they're a client or someone who's in the media, about what is the work that we're doing inside, what is that impact having on on the field outside.
Sure.
But then outside in, I think an example is, if we're hearing so much about generative AI or agentic AI, what does that mean for what we do here?
Yes.
And so that is actually something that we are focused, very uniquely on, because we've built our own platforms to be able to augment what we do specifically. So it's not just everybody go use, whatever the latest, like the trendiest platform happens to be. So we've built something that helps you do uniquely what you need to do for your clients. And so we take the best of the outside and make it relevant for you. And then I would say like the inside, or the other two-way, is just like effective leadership, citizenship dialogue.
Yes.
To making sure that people feel like there's a consistent feedback loop, and having leaders feel that it's their responsibility to be approachable, but also it's your responsibility as a day-to-day employee to ask the questions that you want to have answered.
Yeah. It's interesting. Again, it comes back to that ownership point. If there's something on your mind,
who's
you gotta go ask it. Yeah.
Who's gonna know?
Yeah. And it sounds like the values work that you mentioned earlier on feeds that.
It does. I mean, again, being in an organization that takes the value seriously
Yeah.
is what makes all of that feasible. Because it's one thing to just say that you have the values in there
Yeah.
that's written
And
up on a
it's
wall
on the
somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I see it and I feel it. And I think this is also, from a career standpoint, helping people understand that when they're interviewing for roles, for instance, they should also be interviewing the company. Making sure that they can get what they're looking for out of the role. Like, what's the environment that you want to be a part of?
Yes.
And not just because, they have the job and the check, but are you going to have a good experience there? And do you know what a good experience is for you?
It's interesting because, again, it comes back to that intentional reflection of knowing yourself
Yeah.
and what you're looking for,
Yeah.
and therefore aligning yourself as much as possible with
Yeah.
the culture that you want to be surrounded by and the people you want to be surrounded by and the
Yeah.
work that you want to do within all of that.
That's right. I mean, if we're fortunate, we get to be the free agents of our own careers and put ourselves in positions that just help us feel like we can do all the things that matter to us. So, it's a very integral or integrated approach to work and life.
Yeah, yeah.
Versus like seeing them being, and I think the work-life balance sometimes as a concept can put them at odds.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
they really are
They're the same.
right in the hole
Yeah,
together.
because it's the same person
Yeah.
at the end of the day, just
Yeah.
in maybe a slightly different environment. Last question.
Yeah.
You mentioned generative AI. Obviously, it's an ever-evolving landscape. What concerns do you have when it comes to the world of communications and messaging? And that is not necessarily, perhaps it is only in the world of work, it could be outside the world of work. What are the things that you look at maybe in 2 years' time or 3 years' time that are top of mind for you and maybe don't sit so comfortably with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and because I have a niece and two nephews, who are teenage or early 20 years. So I think about what the world of work is going to be like for them.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of making things for us right now. So, but it's like, okay, well, I just turned 40 last year, and it's like, what do I want the world to be like for them?
Yeah.
I think that what's going to be most critical for how AI is used is what has always been most critical, which is like the ability to maintain a sense of independence, knowing how do I want to use this.
Okay.
Understanding like new tools get developed all the time, new ways of working get developed all the time. But what do I want?
Yeah.
And what is most important for me in the community that I'm a part of, and not just sort of dollar chasing or trend chasing, or just jumping on things for their own sake just because it's the newest thing. Like, we can do that to oblivion.
Yeah, yeah.
But the ability to maintain critical thinking and have self-awareness, I think is so vital. And I just want to make sure that, because I will use pretty much anything that comes out, right? But it's like, because I want to think about how I want to use it.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
I think generative AI works best when you start to understand that, how does it fit into what you're trying to accomplish, versus trying to use things to take a shortcut. Am I going to learn something new? How can I put this into the concept of what matters to me the most?
Yeah, because you mentioned critical thinking there. I think critical thinking is going to become one of those core skills that is going to drive so much progress
Yeah.
in a way that AI just probably can't right now.
But that's where the danger happens to be, because if you don't apply critical thinking into how you use it, then you can get outputs that are dangerous, that are just frankly just like devoid of humanity.
Yeah, and it's one of our beliefs is that AI will actually put humanity back at the center of organizations. Storytelling, critical thinking.
It certainly can.
The creative process.
Yeah.
A lot of strategic decision making. Of course, it's all about discernment, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all using AI in lots of different ways, I'm sure, but it's knowing when to listen and when to not listen.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you can use AI to speed up, the tasks that are worth automating, so that you can free up your time to be more strategic and be more thoughtful, to actually spend more time, with your colleagues.
Yeah.
I think that's noble.
Great. Adrian, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming to Brooklyn.
And next time I'll have to get some fashion advice from you so that I can actually show up
No, you got it.
in a way that will allow me to come to Brooklyn and feel, okay, this is
There's a couple of vintage shops I can take you to.
Okay, let's do it.
We'll be good to go.
Thank you very much.
You got it, man.
Thank you.